attractive, gati, movements, vilasa, fascinating acts, valguhasa, sweet smiling, praneha, loving, nirikshana, looking upon, kalpita, mentality, unumanaha, highly glorified, akritamanu kritavatyaha, in the act of copying the movements, unmada andaha, gone mad in ecstasy, prakritim, characteristics, agan, underwent, hila, certainly, yasha, whose, gopavadvaha, the coward damsels. It's a translation. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Brajadhama, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance. So, purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By intense ecstasy in loving service, the damsels of Brajabhumi attained qualitative oneness with the Lord by dancing with him on an equal level, embracing him in nuptial love, smiling at him in joke, and looking at him with a loving attitude. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for devotees like Bhishma Deva, but the relation of the gopis with the Lord is still more praiseworthy because of their still more purified loving service. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna was fortunate enough to have the fraternal service of the Lord as chariot driver, but the Lord did not award Arjuna with equal strength. The gopis, however, practically became one with the Lord by attainment of equal footing with the Lord. Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopis is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of his life. The Lord is satisfied more when his pure devotees are glorified, and therefore Bhishma Deva has not only glorified the acts of Arjuna, his immediate object of attraction, but has also remembered the gopis who were endowed with such unrivaled opportunities in rendering loving service to the Lord. The gopis' equality with the Lord should never be misunderstood to be like the Sayuja liberation of the impersonalist. The equality is one of perfect ecstasy where the differential conception is completely eradicated for the interests of the lover, and the beloved become identical. Wow. So, again, Lavita Gati Vilasa Valguhasa Pranaya Nirikshana Kalpito Rumanaha Kritamanu Kritavacha Unmudandaha Prakritim Magangila Yasha Gopavan Vaha. So, Om Gana Timadandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, it's a little surprising to find Grandfather Bhishma talking about the gopis right here as he's getting ready to leave this material world. And because a devotee has a particular worshipful form of the Lord, it's called Ishtadeva, that he is very much attached. Of course, it's also described that a devotee generally doesn't reveal these things publicly. It says one shouldn't show one's beads in public, one shouldn't reveal one's worshipful deity in public, because these are very private things. Now, sometimes you find people say, oh, my worshipful deity is Krishna dancing with the gopis, or Krishna doing this or doing that. And that's a very private thing. As we mentioned yesterday, even when Prabhupada was asked about his relationship with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, feeling separation, Prabhupada said, that question you don't need to ask. So you're very, very private. So a devotee doesn't brag or talk about these internal realizations. Usually, there's exceptions to these cases. So every devotee is attached to a particular form of the Lord. And they're so attached to that form of the Lord, just like Grandfather Bhishma, he's attached to the form of Parthasarathi. But they're so attached to that form of the Lord that even if they're encouraged to meditate upon another form of the Lord, they can't do it. And there's many stories that illustrate this particular point. One story is the brother of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. His name was Anupama. Anupama was a great devotee of Lord Ram. And Rupa and Sanatana Goswami try to encourage their brother, please chant Hare Krishna. And he was attached to chanting Sitaram, Sitaram, Raghupati, Raghava, Rajaram, Patita Pavana, Sitaram. And he tried, but he couldn't do it. He was just crying all night long because he couldn't get to that point of just worshiping Krishna and basically forgetting about Sita, Ram, Lakshman, and Hanuman. Same thing happened with Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, of course, is Hanuman himself, who appeared in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And Lord Chaitanya praised him for his loyalty to his worshipful form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then even the last article about that is Hanuman. There's an interesting story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita where Hanuman is asked to come see Krishna in Dwarka. The story goes as follows. That Krishna tells Garuda, his bird carrier, to go and get Hanuman from Kim Purusha Loka, because Hanuman is in Kim Purusha Loka. Kim Purusha basically means, is it a human being? What is it? So Hanuman is not quite a monkey. He's not like one of those monkeys you see in Vrindavan and steal your glasses, do all those other things. So Garuda flies to Kim Purusha Loka, and he says to Hanuman, Krishna would like to see you. Dwarkadish would like to see you. And Hanuman says, no. I've been ordered to stay here and chant the glories of Lord Ram, and we have these deities of Lord Ram. Incidentally, those deities of Lord Ram were later on given to Sripad Madhvacharya, and they're in Udupi right now. Interesting story. So he said, I'm just going to stay here. And I'm not going. And Garuda said to him, you're coming with me. I'm the mighty Garuda. And Hanuman basically did something like flicked his tail, and Garuda went flying back, head over tail, or so to speak. Do birds have tails? Yeah, I guess they do. So he went flying back to Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, or actually Krishna's lotus feet in Dwarka. And Krishna said, what happened? And Garuda said, well, I got thrown away. Because he was a little proud. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it describes that sometimes Garuda gets a little proud and he says to Krishna or Vishnu that without me you couldn't go anywhere. And then one time Lord Vishnu put his arm on Garuda and said, fly, bird, fly. And Garuda was basically crushed. So he learned his lesson. So in this case, Krishna in Dwarka understood that Hanuman was not going to come in that particular case. So what he did is, we know, Krishna and all of his various incarnations, Ete Changsa Puncha Krishna Stu Bhagavat Swayam, Advaita Chuta Nadi Radhanta Rupamadhyam Purava Purusham Nadyobayam Cha. There's only one God in different forms, different manifestations, different dramatic leelas. So he sort of looked at this particular point like Lord Ram, and he told Rukmini, okay, you're supposed to look like Sita Devi. And then he sent Garuda back. Tell Hanuman that Lord Ram and Sita want to see him. And Hanuman just flew back very quickly and to see Ram and Sita Devi. So this is the loyalty that one has to their particular worshipful form and also their particular mood of worship. We have in the case of Grandfather Bhishma, he's absorbed in basically the mood of vira. The word vira is interesting. It sometimes means chivalry and sometimes means heroism. So he's absorbed in this mood of chivalry in relationship to the Supreme Personality of God. It's so much so that his fighting with Krishna, when Krishna was rushing him at him with the chariot wheel, and his firing of arrows at Krishna, and the piercing the transcendental body of Krishna, which manifested what apparently was blood, Krishna experienced as like lover's bites. That's a description Prabhupada gives. I don't know anything about lover's bites. When I think of biting, I just think of crocodiles or something like that. But, people, and some of you may understand these things. So he experienced it somewhat like that. Krishna experienced it, and that was their mood of exchange. And so the question is, why is Grandfather Bhishma talking about the gopis at this particular juncture when, that's not his mood? He's not trying to become a gopi. He has no aspiration to become a gopi. Well, he is appreciating their devotion. Now, sometimes we think about the gopis, and primarily we may think about their particular forms. Or like if one wants to become a gopi, then this, of course, is what we talked about yesterday that one should avoid. Generally, we think that someone pictures themselves artificially. I'm a gopi. And sometimes it's really hard for me to picture myself like that. I have to smoke a lot of marijuana to try to picture myself like that. So anyway, so people try to picture, and even they make external changes in their gross body. And if you go to Vrindavan, sometimes you'll see the ugliest gopis imaginable. There's a gopi with a little bit of growth of beard on her face, and lipstick. And they said, oh my God, if that's a gopi, Krishna's not going to dance with these gopis. So that's, of course, this sahaja thing, taking everything very cheaply, how to become a gopi and for dummies. Like they have all these books for dummies, how to learn computer programming for dummies, how to do this for dummies, how to become a gopi for dummies. So it doesn't work. It really doesn't work to do that, because the point about the gopis, and I want to talk about the gopis even though I'm not qualified to talk about the gopis, but I'm going to be quoting a little bit from Prabhupada, so that's whatever qualification I have, I can quote from Prabhupada. So the point about the gopis is their bhakti, or their devotion. The reason, this is pointed out by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but the reason they have these qualities, extreme beauty, and they're expert in singing, expert in dancing, they did not go to school to learn these things. Just like if any of you ladies, know how to Bharatanatyam dancing. Anyone here know Bharatanatyam dancing? No? No Bharatanatyam dancers here? Oh yeah, we have one. Okay, one gopi. So, how long did it take for you to learn how to Bharatanatyam dance?
Never really stopped learning.
Oh, you haven't started learning yet?
No, you never really stopped learning.
Never stopped learning. Years after years after years, and then you have your ceremony. What is it called? When you come out and you get certified as a Bharatanatyam dancer? Our engagement. So it takes time, and you never stop learning. And if you want to learn how to sing or learn how to do anything, play a musical instrument, it takes practice, doesn't it? But guess what? According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the gopis didn't practice, didn't have any lessons. And they were able to do all these things. Now that's very similar to Krishna's situation. When Krishna was a little baby or just born, he happened to kill this very beautiful lady, Putana. Putana was trying to kill him. And Prabhupada makes the comment that Krishna didn't have to go to any mystic yoga factory to learn how to be a master, Yogeshwara, master of all mystic powers. He didn't learn anything. He didn't have to learn. He knew it already. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that because of the devotion of the gopis, Krishna gave them all of his most attractive qualities. In other words, they're gopis not because they wanted to be females, but because they had the topmost unalloyed devotion for Krishna that attracted Krishna. As we know, the quality of Srimati Radharani is what? She always keeps, one of the qualities, she always keeps Krishna under her control. So because the gopis keep Krishna under their control by their devotion, not because they're attractive ladies, which they are, with spiritual bodies. Just like in the material world, the wife keeps the husband under control if she's attractive. Right? Therefore, Chanakya Pandit, what does he say? Does anyone know? A beautiful wife is an enemy at home. Anyway. So, because the wife is able to control you. And also, you're also worried that she's looking at someone else or someone else is looking at her. So the primary quality of the gopis is their devotion. And therefore, Krishna gave them qualities and a form as gopis, which are his own attractive features that he gave to the gopis. This is actually not my speculation. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And this is shown in there, what's described here in the verse is Unmadandaha. Unmadandaha is actually two words. It means extreme craziness, and also anda means becoming blind. This is called divyon mada, complete transcendental craziness. So let's talk a little bit about the characteristic of the gopis that attracts Krishna and then gets Krishna to give all of his most attractive qualities to the gopis. And that's what Prabhupada means here, is when he's saying, because of intense ecstasy in loving service, first verse in the purport, the damsels of Brajabhumi attained qualitative oneness with the Lord. That's what it means. Qualitative. They were giving the qualitative means qualities. So, anyway, so one story is the famous story that illustrates their intense desire to please Krishna. Is, of course, the story that's perhaps all of you know, is the story of the headache that Krishna had. And then we'll tell some things that you haven't heard. So Krishna, of course, once upon a time had a headache, or at least he made believe he had a headache. In reality, Krishna doesn't have headaches, because why do we get headaches? Blood pressure's too high, or who knows, I guess some of you may have migraine headaches. You have to take some medicine like that. It's due to some misfunction or malfunction in the material body. But anyway, Krishna acted like he had a headache, and he told Narada Muni, I need some medicine. And Narada Muni said, what type of medicine do you want? What doctor you would like to go to? And Krishna said, the only thing that will cure my headache is the dust of the feet of my devotees. So Narada Muni, he went out and visited various devotees. And basically most of them just said, what? No. Who's going to take the dust of their feet? Remember, this is Indian culture or Vedic culture. Feet are considered muchi, whatever. Like even Prabhupada one time said to a devotee, like we do in the West, sometimes we move everything around with our feet. Like here's a table, if I wanted to move it, I'd put my foot, move it. Whatever I want to do, just move things with my feet. Like a monkey. So Prabhupada said, no, don't even move a table with your feet. That's against the culture. What to speak of touching someone with your feet? Just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was lying in the door of the Gambhira in Jagannath Puri. And Govinda, his servant, wanted to go and massage him, and Lord Chaitanya was blocking the door. And he didn't want to step over Lord Chaitanya. And that's really how heavy he was. And he said, can you please move so I can come in and do my service? And Lord Chaitanya said, I'm too tired. I can't move. Just do whatever you have to do, basically. And then, eventually, he put a cloth over Lord Chaitanya, stepped over Lord Chaitanya to get in and to massaged Lord Chaitanya, but didn't come out. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later woke up or came back to external consciousness, and he saw Govinda there, he said, why haven't you left and taken your prasadam? And Govinda said that, I'm willing to create an offense in service to you, but not for sense gratification. So that's how serious it is. The feet, or dust of the feet. Very, very serious, so we have to be careful. Don't step over Vaishnava. And even sometimes it's said that you shouldn't step on a shadow of a Vaishnava. Sometimes in India it's so strict that if someone from a low class would step on a shadow of a Brahmin, he's killed. Or they beat him up or something like that. So that's the culture. And so all the devotees were asked. And none of them said, yeah, we'll give the dust of the feet. And then the gopis were asked, and you all know the answer. And they said, sure, take it right away. And Narada Muni asked, aren't you concerned with committing an offense and going to hell? And they said, we don't care. We want Krishna's headache to be cured. And so that's the reason that Grandfather Bhishma is glorifying him at this point, because of that high level of ecstatic love. And I want to read some of Prabhupada's translations of the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita that really illustrates the mood of the gopis. And this last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita deals with the Shikshastika prayers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these Shikshastika prayers have been analyzed in different ways by the acharyas. One way that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he talks about how each of the Shikshastika prayers indicates a different level of advancement in devotional service, also indicates a different time of day in Krishna's day, the Ashtakaliya Lila. But in this particular case, we're going to refer to the last of the Shikshastika verses that illustrates the mood, the intense, loving mood of the gopis. And I'm going to read some of them and maybe speak a little bit about it. So this is the Anshalila 20th chapter. So we'll start with this verse. Let Krishna tightly embrace this maidservant who is falling at his lotus feet, or let him trample. It's a little bit different translation that Prabhupada is giving here than we're accustomed to. Or let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. He is a debauchee, after all, and can do whatever he likes. But he is still no one other than my worshipful Lord of my heart. So let's talk about the word debauchee. Debauchee means basically someone, let's say someone's married to someone else, and the man is going out and having all sorts of affairs outside. Generally, and I've never experienced an exception to this, not in my own life, I have nothing to do with this stuff, but in observing others, that the lady who says, I love him so much, it's okay. Or like the story that Prabhupada mentions in this chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, about the man who had leprosy and he wanted to visit a prostitute, and his wife went to work for the prostitute, so that this man, I'm not advising this. This is not Grihastha advice right now. Please, don't take it out of context. Abir Krishna Maharaj said that the ladies should be so faithful to their husbands that they go work for it. No, actually the statement is that the lady, if she's with a husband who's completely fallen, cannot be reconciled, you can leave. Because you have the case of Amoga, who was married to Sati, the daughter of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Amoga blasphemed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking prasad. And basically Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said that my daughter Sati doesn't have a husband anymore. It's finished. Because he was so offensive to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is not marital advice here. This is the gopis' devotion. So anyway, so Prabhupada makes reference to this particular story. The lady works for the prostitute. She agrees to see this man. And basically, the man realizes after a while the chastity and devotion of his wife, and he gives up his idea of associating with the prostitute, and there's a whole story in the Markandeya Purana, how he touches Markandeya Rishi and gets cursed, and the lady stops the rising of the sun. But that's okay. So that's one story that Prabhupada makes reference to. So that sort of devotion, no matter what the person you're devoted to does, you remain loyal to that particular person. And this is somewhat like Queen Kunti's prayer, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Krishna, again and again send misery so I can remember you. Prabhupada was asked one time whether we should pray like Queen Kunti for more miseries. And Prabhupada said no. It's miserable enough as it is. I mean, I know I pray, Krishna, don't send any more miseries. I've had enough. I think it's good to be honest. Because if you pray on a level that you're not at, you can end up in trouble. And I'm not on that level for sure. So, but this is extreme devotion. And here's the next verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I am a maidservant at the lotus feet of Krishna. He is the embodiment of transcendental happiness and mellows. If he likes, he could tightly embrace me. This is a paraphrasing of the Shastaka verse. Make me feel oneness with him, or by not giving me his audience, he may corrode my mind and body. Nevertheless, he is the Lord of my life. My dear friend, just hear the decision of my mind. Krishna is the Lord of my life in all conditions, whether he shows me affection or kills me by giving me unhappiness. Sometimes Krishna gives up the company of other gopis and becomes controlled, mind and body, by me. Thus he manifests my good fortune and gives others distress by performing his loving affairs with me. Or since, after all, he is the very cunning, obstinate debauchee, with a propensity to cheat, he takes to the company of other women. He then indulges in loving affairs with them in front of me to give distress to my mind. Nevertheless, he is still the Lord of my life. I mean, this is the mood of the gopis right here. This is the conjugal mood. If one wants to be a gopi, that's how you have to think. Krishna, you can do anything. If you're not thinking like that, you can meditate all day long on your female form. And yes, you will take birth as a lady in your next life, but not as a gopi. That's natural. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Yajate ante kalevaram tam tam vibhati. Next verse. I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. Think about that for a second. If his happiness consists of making me miserable, then that's what I want. That's a gopi. But we find the Prakriti Sahajas don't think like that. They want to enjoy Krishna. And one time I was with Prabhupada, and myself and Sridharananda Maharaj were following Prabhupada all over America. You know, Prabhupada went someplace, we flew there. Prabhupada went another place, we flew there. Prabhupada looked at us, and he said, "Don't you understand? You're not supposed to enjoy the spiritual master, you're supposed to serve the spiritual master." Uh-oh. Because we became like Prabhupada groupies. You know what a groupie is? A groupie is someone who follows a rock and roll band, you know, just Jai, Ringo, Jai, whatever. John, you know, George. And we became like that. And Prabhupada said, "No, you have to serve." So immediately we grabbed our bags and ran away. No. And went out to preach. And we immediately headed up the coast. This is in America, California. Up the coast, went to Oregon. And the first devotee we made, you probably all know him. We actually had to kidnap him. But should I tell that story? Yeah, it's interesting. He was, don't do that nowadays, but he was underage. And his guardian said, "Don't take him." And we stuffed him in the van. His name was Bhakta Vijayapurna Swami. Some of you may know him. He says he became a devotee because of the halava I cooked. So anyway, we stuffed him in the van and took the side roads out of state so the police couldn't find us. And anyway, so that had nothing to do with the topic today. But the point is that Prabhupada said, because Prabhupada said, you have to serve the spiritual master, not enjoy the spiritual master. Unfortunately, we have this propensity. You know, sometimes people say, "I'm a nectar hound." Hound, it means a dog anyway. So, don't be a dog. So, you know, I'm just looking for the nectar. Well, the real nectar is in service. Like we mentioned yesterday, in relationship to Prabhupada. We were talking about Prabhupada, you know, serving Prabhupada, understanding Prabhupada, Prabhupada's mood, serving the mission, value added. Some of you may remember the topic from yesterday. Adding value to Prabhupada's mission, maximizing the value we add to Prabhupada's mission. That's the nectar. And of course, at the same time, yes, we do read about Krishna's pastimes and everything of that, become attracted. Yes, that's important. Prabhupada wants that too. But it's a balanced program. Imbalance would be just serving and not getting into the sadhana. And we saw that. You know, I had some of my god brothers, very exalted souls, who just served and neglected chanting, neglected reading. Prabhupada said if someone doesn't read regularly, they'll go away. And then on the other hand, we have people who just read all day long, nectar. Wow, Krishna's kissing the gopis. Woo! You know, time to go on Sankirtan. No, Krishna's kissing the gopis. I want to read about that. Yeah. So basically it's a balanced approach to Krishna consciousness. Both things are necessary. You know, like we have Bhagavad Vidhi, Pancharatrika Vidhi, like Prabhupada often talks about, the two tracks. Pancharatrika Vidhi means the deity worship, the regulation, everything like that. Bhagavad Vidhi means the preaching, chanting, Krishna Katha, like that. So it has to be a very balanced program. But ultimately, we should keep the goal in our mind to follow in the footsteps of the gopis. Not that we necessarily will become a gopi. And this is what Grandfather Bhishma is doing. Let me read another verse. This is so wonderful, Prabhupada's translations here. When a beloved gopi, this is text 54, shows symptoms of anger toward Krishna, Krishna is very satisfied. Indeed, he is extremely pleased when chastised by such a gopi. She shows her pride suitably, and Krishna enjoys that attitude. Then she gives up her pride with a little endeavor. Why does a woman Why does a woman continue to live who knows that Krishna's heart is unhappy, but who still shows her deep anger toward him? She is interested in her own happiness. I condemn such a woman to be struck in the head with a thunderbolt. Wow. So in other words, someone, not just a woman, but someone who doesn't think of Krishna's happiness, this is what Radharani is talking. This is Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani. This is directly a quote from Radharani's mentality by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If a gopi envious of me satisfies Krishna and Krishna desires her, I shall not hesitate to go to her house and become her maidservant. Anyway, so this is the mood. I'm not going to read more because this a little lengthy here. Let me read the last text. Service to my lover is the home of happiness and more sweet than direct union with him. The goddess of fortune is evidence of this, for although she constantly lives on the heart of Narayan, she wants to render service to his lotus feet. She therefore considers herself a maid servant and serves him constantly. So, in that note, that's what Grandfather Bhishma is thinking of right here. Let me get the mercy of these topmost devotees of the Lord. Like Uddhava is thinking, let me get the mercy of the topmost devotees of the Lord and take birth so that I can become the creepers and the plants in Vrindavan right near, actually Uddhava Kund is right near Govardhan. And so the gopis, the devotees can walk on me. And we should also think like that not necessarily let me become creepers or whatever, but let me become the servant of the servant of the servant, Gopi Bharta, Padakamala, Dasa, Dasa, Dasanu, Dasa. And I think that's all I have time for today. So, any questions, comments, arguments, problems, issues? What else? Yeah. Prashadam, all right, whatever. What? We have a question? Questions? Oh, yes. Actually, Prabhupada called the ladies in the first days of the movement, he called them gopis. He would write a letter, I remember a letter to Sasarup Maharaj, where he said, how are the gopis doing? Later on that became ladies, and later on that became Matajis. But in the beginning, you were all gopis. So, apart from that.
Thank you for the class, Maharaj.
Yeah.
In the Ramayana,
Yeah.
in the Ramayana, now I'm just thinking the youngest brother of Radha, like it was Ravan, Kumbhakarna, and I think it was Vibhishan.
Vibhishan, yeah.
Vibhishan. He gets criticized by, I think it's Meghnad, also known as Indrajit, who was the favorite son of Ravan.
Mm-hmm.
He gets criticized for deserting the family and, not following Ravan. And then Vibhishan says that, and then the comparison is made with how Lakshman is following Ram.
Yeah.
And then Vibhishan says, well, in order to, for somebody to remain loyal, but I'm bringing this back to, you were talking about loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
In order for somebody to be loyal like Lakshman and follow their brother into adversity, that brother, like Lord Ram, that person has to have exemplary qualities, or be somebody who is worthy of following. So I was wondering if you could comment on that in relation to what you were saying.
So obviously Krishna has exemplary qualities. I want to comment on that from a different angle right now, because there is an injunction: one should be loyal to one's brother, one should be loyal to one's husband, one should stick to their promises. And when studying morality and ethics, this is a related subject matter. There's two versions of what is moral and what is immoral. And one is based upon the act itself, and the other one is based upon the consequences. You're probably familiar about this, because Rita Anandamar speaks about this somewhat. So it's called consequentialism. So there are rules. Yes, and generally one should follow those rules if following the rules yields a good result. However, if following the rules yields a bad result, then the rule should be neglected. Now, I'm going to refer to the Mahabharata in this particular instance. Grandfather Bhishma, here we're talking about Grandfather Bhishma again, he was very attached to the rule for rule's sake. He made a promise. His promise was basically to satisfy his father Shantanu, that I will support whoever is the king or the emperor. Support him 100%. And so he thought that that promise was the highest principle of religiosity, or dharma. But he was confronted with a situation where that meant supporting Duryodhana and his brothers and irreligiosity. So he took his vow as more important than the results of the activity. This is one of the most important topics in the Mahabharata. You know, what is moral, what is immoral? And at the end, when he's lying on the bed of arrows, he realizes this. He realizes that he did not understand morality properly. And he gives the example when talking to Yudhisthira Maharaj. He said, once upon a time, there was a sage who never told a lie. And this sage was sitting in his ashram in New Govardhan. So, anyway, wherever the ashram was. And there were dacoits means rascals, thieves, who were chasing a family. They wanted to kill the family, rob the family. Family takes shelter in the ashram of the sage. And the dacoits come by to the sage and say, you know, we're looking for this family. Where are they? And the sage says, I cannot tell a lie. They're in my ashram. And the family gets killed. So what was moral? Was it more moral to lie or to tell the truth? Because it's based upon the consequence of one's actions. So this is the case, of course, with the gopis and with Grandfather Bhishma. And basically, I'm not saying that we should lie. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that. But in certain cases, certain promises, or I don't say promises, lies can be there. Let's say, many years ago, I was preaching, went to visit a country, and I won't mention what it is, where it was illegal to be a Hare Krishna devotee. So I took off my neck beads, put on a little, I don't want to say what type, I put on a little cap so I looked Jewish anyway. And so I went to the country and entered the immigration, looked at me, you look a little strange. Are you a Hare Krishna? I said, what's that? Never heard of them. And they looked again. They said, okay, come in. And I was able to preach and had a good time like that. So there I lied. And of course, one of the principles of religiosity is what? Truthfulness. And I broke that principle. But had I not broken that principle, and even when Tamal Krishna Maharaj was planning to go to China for the first time, he was dressed up in a suit, and Drishtadyumna Maharaj was dressed up in a suit at the same time. And they were going to go as representatives of Seagram's liquor company, Seagram's liquor company. Can you imagine devotees going as representatives of a liquor company? Well, I want to sell some booze here. So there's principles and principles, higher principles and lower principles, and of course we need the advice and association of Vaishnavas to understand which one to follow in a certain circumstance. So it sometimes gets a little tricky, but certainly if your brother happens to be Ravan, I would say it's all right to disobey him. On the other hand, you have Mandodari. Mandodari is the wife of Ravan. She didn't run away, but she preached to Ravan. She didn't just say, because the injunction is a wife should be chaste, all you ladies should follow this. Never talk back to her husband, stay in the kitchen all day long. roll roti, chapatis all day long. This is training. We have a seminar I give how to be a good wife. Anyway, but she talked back to Robin. And she said, give Sita back. And Robin said, you're simply envious. And she wasn't. She said, no, this is right. I mean, your whole kingdom is going to be destroyed. And he got angry with his wife, but still she told the truth. Which is sort of a violation, in that particular case, of the Dharma, that she was so argumentative with him. But she did that for a higher principle. And then also you have Vidura, very similar story, Vidura and Vibhishan. Vibhishan was actually kicked out, he left voluntarily, but he was, Vibhishan left voluntarily. Vidura was kicked out, basically. Actually, Duryodhana said, who has asked this son of a maidservant to speak? And so Vidura just left. And so Vibhishan left in the same way. Even though, according to Dharma, Vidura should have just stayed and, taken care of his older brother and everything like that. So he violated a lower principle for a higher principle. Sounds like Prasadam time, doesn't it? So there's a higher principle right now. To take Prasadam, that's much higher than Prashadam. No, I'm just joking. So thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.